welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Weagle. Today's episode, we're at my house again. So let's go back inside now that I'm dead and review a book. Today's episode of Game Geeks is sponsored by DriveThruRPG.com. Hi folks, welcome back to Game Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Weagle. I'm much better after that lightsaber fight. I'm not dead anymore. I got better. And now we're going to talk about a new game, Hellas. Now, this is a DriveThruRPG.com sponsored product, which means for a limited time after the initial airing of this episode, you can download this product for a discount using the coupon code seen below. What is Hellas? I've been trying to explain this to some of my players recently because I'm really trying to sell them on this game. If I had to describe what Hellas is, other than my usual batch of superlatives in that it's really cool, it's a lot of fun, it's some great ideas bundled in with a system that really seems to work well for it, I would describe Hellas as take Star Wars and pull out the whole Western feel from the New Hope, and also pull out the whole Taoist mysticism of the Force and the Jedi and the Sith, and what you're left with is a generic space opera. Throw into that Greek mythology, 300, and Troy. Bundle it all up together, bounce it around a few times to get it kind of meshed, and that's what you've got with Hellas. This is a space opera that uses as much of the whole Doc Smith-Lensman idealism of space opera and Greek mythology as its base. What you've got is the idea of the Greek civilizations in a outer space opera setting. One of the really nice things about this game is at the top of the book that gives you the 12 revelations. That is what Hellas is about. And it's stuff like, first question, what's it about? It's a generational space opera game about the Hellenistic heroes overcoming fantastic odds to save their worlds and create a legacy for themselves, either by succumbing to their own fate or realizing their heroic destiny. I'm not going to read all 12 of them to you. But basically that gives you an idea. This takes some of the basic premises that Pendragon once did, which is you play a generational game, and as I saw one person talking about it a couple months ago, if you don't end up playing the great-grandson of your original character over the course of this game by the end of the campaign, something's probably gone wrong a little bit. This assumes a certain amount of generational play. Like I said, it is a full space opera. So expect space battles, expect zooming spaceships, shields, weapons, sword fights on the ship, boarding parties, etc. What it also does is it takes all that and gives it a real Bronze Age feel. So what you end up with is, and I don't mean Bronze Age comics, I mean Bronze Age as in your weapons are made out of bronze. So what you end up with are people carrying short swords and wearing armor and shields, Spartan phalanxes setting their shields with spears, all while there's a big roaring dogfight with spaceships going on above your head. I could really go on forever about this game, and I can't because this is a limited time review. So, what we've got is you've got the basic of the Greek society, how the Hellene society works. You have the Athenians, you have the Spartans, who don't necessarily like each other very much. Then, because it's space opera, and because people have come to expect this, you've got faster than light travel, and they call it slip space. And one of the neat things about it is your ship actually puts forth these sails that let you fly very quickly through the slip space, through this wine dark sea, which is basically the ships that would normally sail through the Mediterranean Sea. It's the analog there. The races you can play include Amazorians, which are sort of the female-dominated society, the Gorgons, which are another race that sort of are monstrous in appearance. The Hellenes are the base humans, etc. There are a variety of races here. My personal favorite are the Myrmidons, which are essentially a hive culture of a bunch of little things, usually bugs, that make up one organism. I think that's a really neat idea that I was glad to see in a game. In terms of system, what does this use? This uses a modification of the Omni system, which we reviewed all the way back in Atlantis, the Second Age. So go ahead and take a look back there. It's a very simple rules-light system. You roll one 20-sided die with a pretty basic Omni table that tells you what happens in terms of absolute unmitigated failure to basic failure, success, and oh my God, that worked way too well. One of the neater things about this is it gives you a life path system, including when you were born, what planet, what role that has in your fate and your destiny, what divine heritage you're a part of. They give you a modification of some of the Greek gods in terms of their pantheon, and how your fate will play out in determining what ultimately happens to your character, and can you break out of that or not. Goes on for many pages about this fate system that I think fits very nicely in with the theme of you're playing heroes. But again, not heroes in the paladin sense, heroes in the larger than life sense, in that what you do is writ on a grand scale. And your faults and your flaws and where you fall, your hubris is also writ on a grand scale. To summarize this, folks, because I could go on forever about this game, I think this is one of the most unique and witty, intelligent, well-designed space operas I've seen in a really long time, that takes a completely different point of view than anything I've seen before in a space opera game, and really throws it up there and lets you see the best way to take the ideas of predestination and fate and turn them on their ear and put them in a space opera, space fantasy type of game. I highly recommend you go out and get this if you like space opera, if you like Greek mythology, and if you really want to see these spun together. You could almost see this as a variation on Scion, actually playing sort of the descendants of the gods, but instead of doing it in a modern setting, you put it forward in a space opera type of setting. As we said before, this is a DriveThruRPG.com product, which means you can download this for a limited time after the initial airing of this episode using the coupon code seen below. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Weigel. Good day and good gaming.
We average 9 new titles a day. That's over 60 a week. And we've got well over 15,000 RPG titles online right now. DriveThruRPG, the one true source for RPGs.